I never had one. I always wanted one.
We're live. Hello and welcome to the Douding Thomas monthly recap for January 2021. It has been a month, people. Let me just tell you, like from an event standpoint, we had CES, we had Samsung, we had LG, and we talked about 5G with Miriam Jouar. We talked about Crew in a Box with Ira Rosenzweig. It takes me a while to get his name because it's complicated. And just personally, like from a freelance perspective, I have been chicken with my head cut off. So what just happened? Why do I hear myself? Oh, I have the tab open somewhere. That's fun. I just need to.
We are professionals.
God bless America. Can I just tell you, I hate how Windows handles Windows, like Windows management. You'd think a thing called Windows would do this so much better, and they don't. Here it is. There it is. And hey, Zachary Palmer's here. How you doing? Bye-bye. Okay. So now I lost the StreamYard window. So where are you, Cliff? Can you jump up and wave your hand so I can find you?
I don't think it would do any good.
Oh, all right, fine. I just wanted to see if I can get you to do it, to be honest. Where are you? God, I want to see you, and I can't.
Look for the top of the browser with the... No, actually, it doesn't even do that, does it?
No, it doesn't matter because I've got 87 tabs open on every browser window. So, oh wait, here. Is this it? Hey, there's Batman. Okay. So, hi, Zachary Palmer. How are you? This is the well-oiled machine. That is the benefit of a Down podcast. You got to appreciate that. So, my goodness. So, as I was saying before I so rudely interrupted myself with a delayed stream, my freelance work has been incredible this month, and which is good because, freelance work equals money. But on the other hand, it's not the first time that I've been sitting down at 7:00 at night and still have work to do. So anyway, how you doing, Cliff?
I'm doing well. Just glad that now that you say that, glad that my work usually stops around 5.
Right. Well, I
got a new toy today, so I feel good.
Okay.
I feel good about that.
Show
it's
it
an old
off.
Toy.
I know you want
it's new,
to,
but it's old.
I know you want to show it. Let's see it. Let's see it. The Lumia 1020 with the Oreo on the back. I love it.
Look at that cookie on the back.
That is a cookie. that is like the mother of all camera bumps.
It is.
And I could see myself in the screen there just briefly.
When the table gets a knock and this thing gets a rock, and let me tell you.
Boy, I'll tell you. Well, and the nice thing about that, so for our viewers, it was a Lumia 1020 that Cliff was showing off. Mm-hmm. And so, it's cool because that thing just was an innovator in its time. That 40 megapixel camera that could 41 megapixel, pardon. And, that could just you could crop in on that and it wasn't a zoom per se, but it was a crop, kind of like how the Galaxy S20 did, the Galaxy S20 Ultra did its, hybrid zoom. It would just crop in on the
basically
larger sensor.
Pixel binning for your
right.
But anyway, yeah, I'll tell you, and I'm sure you didn't want to start off with this, but
yeah, whatever.
For one thing, I will say Windows Phone still feels fresh to me. Yeah, and this is 8.1, so it's not even Windows Mobile 10 mobile. It's right. Generations old, and it's a little laggy compared to just the 865 or an 888 if we're talking Android and a 120 hertz screen. You definitely see the difference there, but it's just so different, and it's nice to be back on it, even if nothing works. Seriously, you can't even. I was trying to okay, how am I going to get the images off of this thing? Because,
can you even, oh yeah. I was gonna say, can you even set up any? Is there even an app store anymore? I
haven't. No, it just sits there and spins. You can't even log into with your Microsoft account. It just sits there, and it would be the equivalent of spinning, except with with Windows Phone, it was just the little dots going
Yeah.
across. It
Oh
just sits there
God.
and does that.
I hate those dots so much. I saw those dots so much, but wow,
Hmm.
that's I mean, congratulations on finding one that looks like
Brand
it's in
new.
pretty good condition. And I hope you can is there any kind of like with WebOS, is there any kind of like homebrew community or and see, okay, see, I'm not the only one. Zachary Palmer says the Batman is too quiet. So
Am I too quiet? Okay,
yeah,
let me
we'll
boost my
fix
boom a
that
little bit.
we'll fix that in post, Zachary. It's fine.
Okay,
Uh,
because if I look at my levels in my because I'm recording locally and I'm good
hey,
as far as the
yeah, hey StreamYard, you need a mixer
yeah.
on the thing. So, I wonder, can I do Oh, there's a mic volume beta. Hang on a second. Let me try this.
And it breaks everything.
Yeah, right. All right, let's try that. I just turned you up. So,
Mic
um
check 1 2 3 4.
I don't know. Well, you've always sounded okay to me. So no, I mean it's really. I was gonna ask, is there any kind of like homebrew community with the Windows Phone that like is keeping the charge alive,
I
or
haven't. So first of all, going back to taking the photos off of it, and it's actually nice because I think it just sees it as mass storage when you plug it in with a
oh
micro USB. So then it just pops open Windows Explorer and you can then Windows Photo or whatever it is your
yeah,
standard. So yeah, it's easy to get them off.
oh good okay
But yeah, I know there's some stuff like unlocking and doing like the equivalent of rooting a device, and I think there's like a ROM community out there. I know that they just made uh what is it, Windows 10X, which is going to run on the like the tablet cousin of the Surface Duo.
yeah yeah yeah
There's a beta that runs on the Lumia 950 XL.
oh okay all right
That looks pretty decent. So there is a homebrew community out there. I think it's more for the last two Lumia devices, the 950 and the 950 XL, more than these older Windows Phone devices. But I mean, I never expected to use this as a phone. I mean, I for one thing, it requires a micro SIM, and if you put a nano SIM in there with an adapter, it actually will pull the pins up
yeah, it
inside
can break
there.
it. Yeah, I
So
mean
you don't want to break it.
yeah,
Yeah.
well yeah,
Um,
because there's no way you're gonna fix that.
I
So
would I would like to find the if you remember, they had the accessory that was like the external battery, and then it gave you like a camera grip,
oh yeah yeah
but
I'm
it,
sure
it also allows you to put it on the tripod. That's really the only reason I want it.
oh okay
So I'd like to just, I'd like to be that super smartphone uber nerd, photography nerd who goes out and takes pictures with a 7-year-old phone just to say that you can. So anyway, that's that. But yeah, I'm excited. It's a phone I always wanted, and I never bought because at the time I think it was like $600, and back then that was expensive.
yeah, that was
My, how
expensive.
things have changed.
Right? Yeah, considering my $1,200 phone is set to be delivered tomorrow.
Or the
Um,
$2,500 Xperia Pro that was released today.
yeah, that was an interesting briefing.
I
So,
bet you just your eyeballs turn into cartoon dollar signs. You're just,
uh,
cha-ching.
basically, well, I mean, so now Sony does have a point, and
Sure.
I watched Michael Fisher's video on this because he just released his review. But Sony does have a point. If you want to have like a 5G broadcast 4K streamable setup for your DSLR, it's going to cost you like $2,000 and extra stuff that you have to buy anyway. So it's not completely crazy that they might charge $2,500 for this, especially since, I mean, like, really the only thing you're adding is 5G millimeter wave, which, by the way, there's no reason why the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II couldn't have that, except they probably didn't want to shoot the Pro in the foot prematurely.
I wonder if it has the modems in it and they're just not activated or something.
Well, because from what okay, so the Xperia 5 Mark II has 5. The U.S. variant of it does not have 5G, but the world variant does. And I don't know if it's two
Right.
different variants or if it's just a territorial band support thing, but whatever. So anyway, so the fact that you would need to get all this extra equipment to do that anyway is kind of a not terrible argument, but at the same time, you're basically getting an Xperia 1 Mark II, which itself debuted at like $1,200, I think.
Hmm.
So
8 months ago.
and you're getting the same. But yeah, it was almost a year ago
Or a
actually.
year ago. Yeah, something like that.
I think it was announced a year ago, but it didn't come out until like May, something like that. Anyway,
That's typical Sony.
yeah, right. So, anyway, they've got a not compelling argument there, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, Basically, bottom line is it's not designed for consumers. I don't even think I'm going to ask them for a review unit because I wouldn't know what to do with it. I mean,
the
like
review kit, unless you get the review kit like Michael Fisher got,
like what
that has
Fisher
the
did, yeah.
Ace, the the A series SLR with all of the attachments. I mean, there's really no way to really. I mean, it really is just a polycarbonate body on a 1 Mark II.
Yeah, and
Otherwise,
you can use other DSLRs with
can
the
you?
phone. Yeah,
Because the HDMI out.
Yeah, because it's HDMI.
Yeah.
So you can use that with other cameras. So I could probably connect it to my what the hell do I have?
You have a Rebel
My Panasonic
6 Ti or something?
No,
you have
I've
a
got
Panasonic now?
Yeah, I've had the Lumix
Like a 5 or a 6?
G85.
G85. Okay.
So I've had that for about a year now because I was gonna learn how to make videos in 4K, and then like the one site that I ever made videos for said, yeah, we don't need videos from you anymore. So I'm like, oh, well, I guess I don't need this camera, but I already bought it, so whatever. Camera. It is still a nice camera. But anyway, so I could use it with that. I could probably even use it with the Canon, but it's not for me, and it's not really for my audience, and that's why so I've got a review coming up on this Xperia 5 Mark II, and I'm going to touch on the advanced camera features in here, but that's not going to be a focus of the review because for two reasons. A, I'm not a DSLR pro. I'm not very good at DSLRs, to be perfectly honest with you. I know what the terminology is, but actually manipulating those settings to come out with a quality picture, not my cup of tea. I am full on auto. But the second reason, and the reason I can get away with this, is because when the Sony Xperia 5 Mark II was announced, Sony put a gaming twist on it and said, hey, this phone is for gamers too, because we got a big battery and we got 120 hertz screen and blah, 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 blah. So that's why I can get away with it. So this is like true confessions from your podcast reviewer. That's why I can get away with this. So, but yeah, I don't even think I'm going to even ask for a review, unless they do the whole review kit. But even then, I don't even know what I would do with it, honestly. I'd be like a monkey trying to hump a doorknob, as Rip Torn used to say, So it's like
go on another trip around Illinois and film stuff and stream it on 5G this time.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Zachary Palmer just wants to go ahead and give away my weekend for me. Redo the 5G road test and do 23 live streams at 23 locations in 2 days. My wife would kill me.
I'll see you in 3 days.
Yeah, she already wasn't too thrilled about the whole Black Friday going out on Black Friday thing, but I'm trying to. Yeah, I've got right now. This quote is going straight across Cliff's face, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. But it's a good thought, Zachary Palmer. But yeah, I don't think so. But maybe in a year or two. I'll tell you what. Give me not that I don't love you all, but give me 80 more patrons, and maybe we can have that conversation. So, because then this will be much more of a job and less of a hobby. Anyway, so we should move on to as long as we're showing off cool stuff.
Uh-oh.
I got a little toy here too. I'm trying to figure out how to put it in here so the camera can see it. Hey, look, it's a tiny laptop, or it's a gigantic screen. Woo!
With your face on it.
With my face on it. You like that? So this is the ThinkPad X1 Fold. The unboxing just went out this past weekend. And so I'm interested in playing with this, although this thing utterly failed me today. It was my fault, but it utterly failed me. So my daughter had to go to the doctor today. And in Chicago, we had, I think we ended up with about 6 inches of snow altogether. It wasn't so much the quantity, it was the duration, because the snow started yesterday afternoon and just ended an hour ago. So, I mean, it was just going and going and going. I had the last 24 hours. But anyway, so my daughter had a doctor's appointment in the city today, so we had to drive in all this crap into the city. And then I'm like, okay, well, from there, we'll just go over to my mom's house because she's like, 15 minutes away. I'll take the laptop. I'll get some work done. My daughter can do her school from there. Yada, yada. I get this to my mom's house and go to turn it on. I see the Lenovo logo, and then it just shuts off. And I'm like,
whoopsies.
What the hell? So I was trying to hold down the power button, do all this, blah, blah, blah. Would not turn on. The battery was dead. Like I thought I had plugged it in last night, but I don't think I plugged it into the right cable. Like I think I plugged it into a cable that wasn't actually plugged into anything on the other end because I have USB-C cables scattered all over my desk. So like just some initial impressions on this is this whole thing. You'd think that this device would be about the folding screen. Because, it opens, it closes, it turns into a tiny little laptop.
That's the party trick.
The story of this laptop is not in that. The story of this laptop is right here. And it is the accessory keyboard that's optional. And I want to say,
is it optional?
It doesn't come in the box.
Oh,
and I want to say Lenovo charges like around $200 for this, maybe even $300. And this keyboard, I'm getting used to it. But it's not good. It's really not good. In a world where I have like 2 bridge keyboards here now, one courtesy of Cliff, thank you very much. I've got 2 bridge keyboards here, which are roughly the equivalent size of this, like from a typing surface standpoint. This keyboard that comes with the Lenovo is only 1/4 of an inch narrower and 1/4 of an inch shorter, I guess. So you're not missing a whole lot of surface area, but this keyboard layout compared to I don't know where my iPad is, but compared to the bridge that I like, it was my first tech. Yeah, I love that keyboard. And like the difference is just like night and day. Like this, for some reason, they decided to put the apostrophe up above the enter key. Nobody should ever put an apostrophe above the enter key. Just trust me, keyboard manufacturers out there, never put the apostrophe above the enter key.
So lots of typos?
Oh, yeah, lots of typos. Now, I'm getting used to it. It's an adjustment, but that'll all be part of the review, which will be coming, I think I have it on the calendar for like mid-February, somewhere in there. So
it's interesting, though, because, for years, I mean, since the 90s, IBM and then Lenovo with the ThinkPad line has hung its hat on the quality of their keyboards. I mean, even with like the PCAT and the whatever the buckling spring keyboards from IBM from the 80s, those were always the best keyboards you can buy. And ThinkPads have always had amazing keyboards. So the fact that you're having issues with that. Let me ask. So it's definitely more the layout than like the key feel and things like that.
It's more the layout than the key feel. Absolutely. Like the key feel is actually pretty okay. Even the fact that it's like so cramped doesn't really bother me. It's just the way the keys are laid out, and it's just not. It doesn't feel like a normal QWERTY layout, And I think that's really the crux of it. But it's mainly just the buttons along the left side, like the enter key and the apostrophe. And they do that thing that a lot of Bluetooth keyboards do, where they have the function key and they hide like a lot of the symbols and stuff underneath the function key. And so if you need like a backslash, you not only have to hold the function key and the shift key and then the backslash. Like they do that, which is just, in my world, I kind of hate that. Just because like, a normal keyboard doesn't need a function key. And man, I really wish my iPad was somewhere around here, but because like I could show you that the bridge keyboard doesn't do any of that. Like they've got all it's like a normal QWERTY keyboard that like I could pound out, a 10,000 word script on it if I needed to. I've done that. Like I've literally done that in the past with this show. I've written like 10-page scripts on the bridge keyboard, just like sitting there at my kitchen counter, like cramped like this, like a T-Rex, but I mean, like, it doesn't matter because the keyboard is that good.
So then my question is, If someone put a gun to your head, would you rather use the accessory keyboard or the touchscreen keyboard?
Oh. Because I mean, the touchscreen keyboard isn't that much better, to be honest.
Yeah.
Now there might be. I've only had this thing for a couple of days, so there might be a better software keyboard in there somewhere. Because if I remember correctly, like some of the reviews seem to indicate that you could do like a thing where like the bottom half is the whole keyboard and the top half is like the laptop part. And I have not found that mode yet, so I've been looking for it, but I haven't found that mode yet. So there could it that the my answer might change if I ever do find that mode. But for now, yeah, I'd say I would have to use the physical keyboard. So especially because the physical keyboard enables you to open up the screen fully, so you get the full 13-inch monitor.
Right, right.
So you kind of have to do it in that case. So, but I'll tell you what, we're going to review this next month, which means that's going to be a topic for next month Doubting Thomas monthly recap. So, but I just thought I'd give you a little
tasty treat.
Little preview there. So, I want to start off by acknowledging the fact that we had Miriam Schwar on the podcast to talk about 5G. And honestly, if you listen to the full interview, which will be available by the time you listen to this, it'll already be available. But because if you're a patron and you're watching this, then it is available. And if you're not, then by the time you hear this, it will become available on patreon.com. But anyway, if you listen to the full interview, we covered just about anything you could possibly talk about with 5G. The only major caveat to that, and I mentioned this in the podcast, was when we recorded this, Verizon had not released its nationwide 5G network, which I like to call the nationwide please let us sell the iPhone network. Because there's no way that Apple would have let them sell a 5G iPhone if they just had millimeter wave. Right. You know that for a fact. And so I have no doubts that Apple put Verizon on notice when the iPhone 11 came out saying, guys, next year we're doing 5G. And if you want in, start building your network now because you're going to need it by then. So, but anyway, so like we made a lot of references to Verizon and millimeter wave and how Verizon is screwed if they're going to rely completely on millimeter wave. And then the interview came out like 2 months after they launched their sub-6 network. So whoops. Stupid phone. So whoops. But I mean, that's really, I mean, like we covered so much in that podcast. It was like I said, the finished product was like an hour long. I managed to cut it down to I think the final product was 27 minutes that went out onto the podcast, which is abnormally long for an interview on the show. For an edited interview, I should say. So, I think we've pretty much covered everything 5G that we can possibly cover. Miriam, love you. Love having you on the show. Would love to have you on again. So I think we could just kind of move on. CES was an interesting experience this year. It was all digital, which made things kind of weird because you had to, in the past, when I've gone to CES, I've made the mistake, and I rectified this mistake when I went in 2019 by scheduling booth visits at a specific time, like when I knew I was going to be in the building. So I fixed that problem. But even so, I didn't schedule enough booth visits in 2019 to really make the most out of my time. And I was going to fix that the next time I went to CES, but I ended up not going. So a lot of the things that we did with CES were, virtual Zoom call booth visits basically. And I got a few of those in. My registration went in late, so I didn't probably schedule as much as I could have, but that's probably actually a good thing because I was actually really busy that week. So it was kind of fun. But I want to get your perspective, Cliff, because normally you're watching announcements from home in Iron Gate or at work or whatever. How did you feel about the all virtual CES this year? How are you digging it? And I could even throw it out to Zachary Palmer and CT in the comments and see if see what they were thinking about it.
So CES has kind of become the TV show to me, and I guess laptop show.
Yeah,
There's
yeah, that's very
for the
true.
mobile space, which is what I personally pay attention to more. There wasn't a whole lot going on. Our friends at TCL actually did release a couple of devices. So that was cool, and we got to see some neat stuff from TCL and from LG as far as their rollable devices. Yeah, having never been to CES, I mean, I've been to quite a few trade shows, but nothing for technology. But I can imagine even with all of the stress and the late nights and everything, it still would be a blast.
Mm-hmm.
As a consumer, just watching these, it's not being able to have the hands on from the tech sites and things like that so much.
That was kind of a bummer.
And
it
feels so much more produced because it is. I mean, you really are just watching the same thing that you would get from like a Samsung Unpacked or something like that. I'm sure it's different for you because you're getting the press briefings.
Right.
And I don't know how much that differs, but I guess it's just a little more in depth.
It does. I mean, really, the main difference is they still give you their spiel, but then they open it up for questions afterwards, and you can really kind of drill it down. And I did have a lot of productive meetings there. Like, we were able to. I was covering the show for Digital Trends, because that was the guise under which I attended. I would love to attend for benefit of a doubt, and I believe next year that will be the case, and I believe, Cliff, if you're down, maybe we can get you there too.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, let's do that. I
Yes,
I think it would be so much fun doing like a daily Doubting Thomas recap from CES,
Definitely.
like from the floor. I think that would be amazing. And maybe we could use the Sony Xperia Pro to live stream it because that's the shiz. So yeah, like the press briefings were definitely
great
different.
5G reception you'll have there with the 8 million smartphones.
Right. Well, that's one of the things that 5G is supposed to address, though. So I mean, there you go. So anyway, I think that for the most part, like a lot of what you saw as as someone watching from a side would have been similar, but I think the main difference would have been that at a live in-person CES they would have been doing like press conferences, kind of like a Samsung Unpacked type of event, and some of them might have live streamed it, some of them probably wouldn't have. And so you probably wouldn't be getting the types of announcements as a consumer that we would have been getting as press. You would have been basically getting our recounting of the press briefing, unless it was actually something that they did live stream. So, because like if I remember correctly, at CES 2019, I want to say I went to like 12 different press conferences. I think only 2 of them were actually live streamed, and I think one of them was Samsung. And I actually didn't even go to the Samsung one. I sat in the media room watching the live stream because I couldn't get into the Samsung press conference. And then, like, I want to say the other one was like maybe TCL. Maybe TCL did a live stream. I don't remember. But anyway, so I think that a virtual CES gave brands an opportunity to interface. Major brands, excuse me. Crew in a Box was not doing a live stream from CES, but I think it gave major brands a path directly to the consumers, which was probably beneficial in some ways. But at the same time, it lost a lot of the personal touch that I think a lot of people are looking for in a CES attendee. So
I think the one thing I also didn't see a lot of, and it could just be me in terms of my observation versus reality, but it seems like maybe the relationship that the United States has with China has had a chilling effect on some of the Chinese brands from coming to the United States.
Possibly.
Even because I just didn't see a lot of the smaller companies that you might see. Of course, some of that probably just has to do with the fact that no one can travel because of COVID and things like that too. But even if they were doing something virtual, I didn't hear about a lot of things from them, except for from the major players like an Asus or Lenovo or TCL.
I wonder if I wonder if maybe a lot of those smaller brands probably got lost in the noise. Like
Could be,
because
yeah.
in a virtual in a in-person CES, I could see something on the floor, go to John
Right.
Velasco, my editor, and say, "Hey, I just saw this really cool gadget. Can I do a write-up on it?" And he'll say, "Sure." I'll sit down and bang out a quick article about it, put it up on the news site, and then bada bing, bada boom, you hear about it. But like with CES, where consumers are getting stuff more from the major brands, the ones that have the leverage to do a
Right.
live stream,
Right.
And yes, I did intentionally mispronounce the word leverage. But
Lever.
yeah,
Aluminium.
but anyway, so I kind of wonder if maybe that was if that put some smaller brands at a disadvantage. Which
I'm sure absolutely. You can't walk to the back of the building and go to the small booths that are on the sides and the
yeah.
where the cobwebs are.
Oh man, I got to get you to a CES, man, because there's so much there that I think you would be like a kid in a candy store. It would actually be fascinating to watch. I might even launch a second podcast about it. We'll call it.
I'm gonna take
we'll
my
call it-
Lumia 1020 and be that guy.
Yeah, there you go. Cliff's Adventures at CES, and we'll make it a yearly series. But anyway, so one of the companies that we saw at CES was obviously Crew in a Box, and we talked about this on the podcast. It was just from the last episode that aired. I kind of forgot the name of what we were talking about. So, Crew in a Box, for those of you who haven't listened yet, or what have you, there was a Hollywood director named Ira Rosenzweig. Was basically when LA went into lockdown, he's like, "Crap, how are any of us supposed to work?" Because as you may have noticed, the film industry pretty much shut down when COVID hit. So
Apparently, Tom Cruise is keeping them all afloat right now.
Oh, right. Did you hear that? Did you hear
Yes,
that
that's
one?
what I'm talking about.
Anyway, so anyway, that's a side conversation. But anyway, so Ira sat down with a couple of his friends. He mentioned the co-founders in the interview. But basically, what they developed was this big Pelican case, about maybe 18 inches tall, 2 feet wide, 2 feet deep. You basically take off the lid and you set it down on your table, and then like you take the Crew in a Box and set that down on top of the lid, and basically what you have is a teleprompter, and behind the teleprompter is a Blackmagic 6K camera, and you flip up the lid, and the lid turns into a 3-panel LED display. And the cool part is that there's a Mac Mini built inside this box with cellular connectivity, that as soon as you plug it in, it powers on, connects to a cell tower, and then a remote team can operate every part of this Crew in a Box thing. They can adjust the lighting, they can adjust the camera, they can punch in on the on the 6K display, they can run the teleprompter, they can have a director. The director can there's like a second panel that comes off from the back, and you can kind of swing it around to the side, and you can have the director sitting there, or an interviewer, or anybody really. And you can have a producer on a Zoom call, and you can have the talent, and you can have he was saying that some people hired like a white glove service to like go into the talent's place and set this all up for them. And like the idea was to like just ship this box to somebody who has no idea. Oh, there you go, Zachary Palmer, the Xperia Pro as part of the Crew in a Box. There you go. We'll have to mention that to Ira. But anyway, so like you could just set this down on a table, push a button, and you just go. You sit down, you record whatever you need to in high quality 6K, and then it all gets saved to a hard drive. It gets uploaded to the cloud over time. And so like it was really kind of cool to me, because like, as I don't want to call myself a filmmaker, but as someone who makes videos, this was like a really innovative solution to a major problem. And this is one of those things that literally could change how certain things are done in the film industry.
I was thinking that would be great for doing a live remote if you're like one of those small market local news teams that doesn't have a lot of
Totally.
crew or budget. Yeah, just
Hmm.
here you go. Stick
Well,
still look in the case.
I also, he was, Ira mentioned that there was, I forget what it was called, like a drop kit or something like that, where they would
The
like,
C-130 flies over with a parachute and
well,
just go.
like for like some organizations, like I remember specifically there was a meteorologist who had like a whole like green screen set up with like all these different like like server rack cases like stacked up on her dining room table and stuff like that, and like a huge like camera on a dolly set up in her living room, and she would like report the weather from her living room. And like
Oh wow.
someone on Twitter posted like a BTS video on this, and I thought it was kind of cool. But like, if you could just set down a crew in a box, plug it in, and like you could replace pretty much all of that equipment, and
Totally.
it's like it's plug and play. I mean, it's and like I said, the main reason why I wanted to talk to him was because this is something that could change how things are done going forward, like for live remotes or another possibility that Ira brought up was if you're doing like some kind of documentary or something overseas, instead of having to like constantly fly over overseas, you could just fly over, drop down a crew in a box, and say, we'll talk in a month, or we'll talk, get I don't know, 7 different subjects, bring them over here, sit them down, and we'll interview them, remotely and stuff like that. So that was the main reason. Like that's not something that my audience will ever need, but
Right.
excuse me. But I thought it was, something that was, what I look for when I'm looking for stories is like just cool stuff that could potentially be game changing. And so that's why I wanted to make sure I talked to them.
Yeah, it's interesting because as hugely tragic as COVID has been, and all of the loss and you guys know what has happened, but
Right.
it's also been interesting to see what the entrepreneurship that's gone on and the innovation with things like
Hmm.
this. It's like necessity breeds innovation,
Yeah.
and that sounds like it's definitely in this case what happened. So yeah, it's like the little bit of inspiration and joy you can find amongst all the bad stuff, right? That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Well, and also, I mean, like, it's just following along with that thread, I mentioned the snow that was going on today in Chicago. Like, so my kids are remote. They're going to be remote learning for the rest of the year. However,
Hmm.
U46, their school district, has started bringing back students in person on like a hybrid type schedule, which, by the way, sucks. But don't get me started on that. Anyway,
Yes,
so
it does.
but like there was barely a sprinkling of snow on the sidewalk last night when U46 decided to just say, okay, you know what? We're not going to have school tomorrow, but it's not going to be a snow day. It's going to be a distance learning day. So,
Hmm.
like, instead of, all these kids losing a day of school and having to go an extra day in the summer and yada, yada, yada. I mean, granted, I think the whole COVID situation might have given them a little bit of an itchy trigger finger in that particular regard. But
Yep.
like my wife's school canceled their day without even before any snow had fallen. She's like, well, we're remote tomorrow, and I looked at them like I can still see the sidewalk. Uh, but anyway, but I mean, it's another one of those, positive seeds that like, we're kind of used to this now. So if there is any type of inclement weather or any other reason why we need to shut down school, we don't necessarily need to lose days of learning because of it.
Right.
So, and that's
It
cool.
is. It is as an adult, but as a kid, of course, they'll never really
Oh,
know.
that
But I mean,
sucks.
they'll
They'll
never
never
have those
know.
snow days.
Back in my day, we had
Yeah.
snow days.
A
Actually, you know
what?
what? Back in my day, we didn't have snow days. Like I remember going to school when there was like 6 inches of snow on the ground, and like having to push the car down to the end of the block just to get to the nearest plowed street.
Yeah, it was like that in Colorado. I lived in Colorado Springs when I was, I think, like between 5 and 7 years old,
Oh
and
yeah.
I remember walking to school in the snow and being on the playground with like 2 or 3, 4 inches of snow on the ground, just on the swing, just la-di-da.
Yeah.
You just wore your snow pants, and that was what it was.
Right. That's what you did.
Yep.
That's how it worked. I mean, my kid's school has been canceled, before pre-COVID, like for like oncoming snow. There was one, I swear to God, I was both amused and kind of irritated. Like they canceled school the night before a huge storm was supposed to hit, and it never hit.
Yeah.
Like it just totally passed us by, and our kids are like, "Yay!" And I'm like, "What the hell, you wimps!"
Well, you know what happens around here? They do call it pretty early. It's because I live in a rural area, and some of these kids live out on these.
Well, yeah, I
crazy
mean, they
back
need
roads.
to send out the people on horseback to notify all the family.
You, man. Oh yeah. But,
they need to make they need to make sure none of the carrier pigeons die on the way to the kids' houses to inform you that there's not going to be any school in the one room schoolhouse.
The one room schoolhouse.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing there.
Yeah. So for the listening audience who's not aware, Cliff lives pretty much in the middle of nowhere. So, anyway, so when he's giving his address on forms, city is in quotation marks. So anyway,
well, I'll tell you, it's so bad that because I live in a town with about 300 people and I have a post office box. So let's just say I want to get a new phone, right? Like, I'm ordering it from Verizon.
Wait, I'm trying to imagine this really rare occurrence of Cliff wanting to get a new phone. Let me see if I can form that in my head.
Yeah,
as he picks up his Lumia 1020 that he just bought today.
And this happens with not just phones. That was just my hypothetical example that never happens. But I guess because they use the postal service as a way to verify the address, even though you can go on Google Maps and see my house with the address, it tells me it doesn't exist. So I have to, most of the time I have to have my stuff shipped to a friend's house with a lot of stuff. It's so frustrating. So yeah, that's a little frustrating aside there.
Yeah. Speaking of shipping new phones, I got my notification today that my Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra will be arriving tomorrow, which is actually 2 days before the launch date, which I thought was kind of weird. But because it doesn't launch until the 29th, as far as I knew, but it's going to be.
I thought it was the 27th.
Was it the 27th? I could have sworn it was the 29th. Okay, anyway. Well, then I don't feel special.
Well, the only reason I say that is because I got an email from Samsung directly because when they announced it, I just, Samsung has some great deals on their website, and so I just signed up for like the pre-order thing to get news on it.
Mm-hmm. No, it is the 29th. You actually only get the $200 credit if you pre-order up through the 28th. So there's a countdown timer on Samsung.com. It says 2 days, 2 hours, 57 minutes. So, it's the 29th. And so I'm getting my phone early. Biatch. So, and so is Joe Maring, by the way, which is why it comes to mind. But I actually kind of wish that we were doing this tomorrow, just so I could kind of like hold it up and show y'all, but it's not a big deal.
I will say, I would not be jealous of the regular S21 or the S21 Plus. Not to say that they're not nice phones, because they definitely are. But I have an S20 Fan Edition, so it would be kind of a lateral move in that respect. But I'm jealous of you getting the Ultra with that camera system.
Yeah,
it looks so nice.
I'm going to be spending some time downtown, wandering around. I'm going to have the Sony. I'm going to have the iPhone 12 Pro, and I'm going to have the Samsung. I'm going to have that. You remember that 3-phone clamp that I had in the 5G testing? That's going to be loaded for bear, man. I'm gonna seriously have like $3,000 of phones inside that clip.
I picture you with like holding that with one hand, but you're doing the old.
I'm holding a pillow
around for a signal. Your clamped phones.
Oh no, I'm going to be holding a pillow underneath it with my other hand because I don't want any of those things to fall.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh man, but no. So you know what? I honestly I'm excited by the fact that I've never been that guy to walk around with an iPhone 12 Pro and a Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra in my pocket, and it's like I finally get to be that guy, and like. And here's the thing, while I was actually having this train of thought earlier today, I think what's cool about like my career is that I haven't gotten to phone burnout yet. Like I haven't
Hmm.
reached the point where phones are like boring to me. I can find delight in any phone that you put in my hand. I can find something that's really cool about it and something that will make me smile ear to ear. I have yet to find to review a phone for the show that hasn't given me some kind of happy surprise to it, like, oh my god, that's really neat, I love that.
I mean, we all know how much you enjoy the iOS keyboard. That's your favorite part of
It
using.
is. And yeah, oh yeah, and I can still find stuff that irritates me, but like I really appreciate that, and it's probably because I haven't had a year where I've done all the Samsungs,
Hmm.
all the OnePluses, all the LGs, all the TCLs, all the Motorola's, all the. I can kind of see why that might get a little tiresome, but I'm not there yet, and I don't anticipate a time that I will be there yet. So it's just it's a wonderful feeling being able to still be delighted by that thing that you love. It
Hmm.
hasn't become, as they say in Stargate, it should never get old, Admiral. So, you know,
Still haven't watched that series, so I'll just take
oh,
your
you
word for it.
should, you should.
I think I will.
They were
Um,
commenting like after the third time that SG-1 had saved the world. He's going up to the general, and the general's like, "So you saved the world again?" And he's like, "It should never get old, General. We saved the world." But anyway, yeah.
so talking about smartphones, and this was like brought on by when I ordered this 1020, and I started thinking about all the older smartphones that I had laying around, and it was also prompted by my wife asking me to clean up all my shit. You can just bleep that out if you need to, but
Nah, we're fine.
so it had been one of those things where I hadn't got them all together in a while, and they were in different boxes all over the place, and so I got them all together. And I don't know if you saw the picture that I posted on Twitter, and in fact, it's actually, well, part of it anyway is now like the header image for my Twitter
Oh, all right.
handle.
Let's
What I'm
go
getting
look.
to is that I had them all together, and I thought, my I can look at this, and it's kind of like the last decade of my life has been defined by the phones that are right here. Like I had it going all the way from the G1 from
Oh
HTC
wow.
and the original Google phone through WebOS, through I had like my original Moto X, and then like an LG V20 for some reason. But yeah, it's like I can kind of
That
picture
is a
when those
collection right there.
phones came out, and it's weird. Like
Mhm.
WebOS and Windows Phone were such a huge part of my identity there for a while. And I think I've kind of outgrown that, being like a attached to one platform. But yeah, I mean, 2010 through 2021, I guess, is very much like phones were a huge part of my life,
Oh yeah.
and
I had a
it's weird.
similar I had a similar situation over the summer. I found a box full of phone boxes that I had been saving, and like the phones weren't in them anymore, but
Mm.
like I had a phone box in there for the Galaxy S3, for several different Palm phones, several different Windows phones, and like I'm just like, man, I don't it got to the point where like if I'd thrown these away like when I first opened the box and took out the phone and took everything out, if I'd thrown it away then it would have been okay. But like now that I've held on to it for this long, it's kind
Right,
of a sunk
exactly.
cost. So actually there was a TikTok video that I made that I never posted to TikTok, but it was a photo of it was a video of me holding the Galaxy S3 box, saying, "This is the phone box for the first Android phone that I ever owned." And it just like holds there for like 2 seconds, and then I just toss it into the garbage. It didn't have quite the emotional impact that I was going for, so I never ended up posting it, but I've
It's
still
too
got
bad you
that
couldn't
video
have edited
somewhere.
in like a little banana peel slip sound as you did it. You
Right,
threw it over your shoulder.
right.
Going talking
Um,
about phone boxes though. Before we move on here, I this is how big I for you guys that are and gals that are listening, and well, I'm really getting into gender politics and stuff here. We'll just cut that part out. So for you people that are
Start over.
start over. So for those of you listening that are phone nerds, this is I think I've okay, so this is how big of a phone nerd I am, and specifically a Windows phone nerd, or at least, yeah, they kind of are tied together. But so I got my Lumia 1020, and I'm holding. For those of you listening to the podcast rather than watching the video, I'm holding up the box, and I was so happy because I didn't know that I got the like standard Nokia like unlocked box instead of the ugly, horrible orange AT&T box from like 5 years ago.
Okay, I don't remember that, but I'm going to take your word for it.
Oh, I'll show you. I'll be right back, and you can keep talking
Oh
here.
boy.
But you will remember because it's what the pre 3 came in, and a whole bunch. Let's see.
Okay, yeah, that kind of sort of rings a bell. Um, but all right, so we're waiting for Cliff to. Oh, that didn't take long at all. I didn't have to fill any time. That's amazing. I'll just take that
We'll
out
just
and
edit
post
out
that.
that edit
Oh,
out
yeah.
and post.
Yeah.
So, it's like I could get the beautiful like recycled material like
Mm-hmm.
the unlocked Nokia box, or you could have this horrible
Oh.
AT&T.
Okay.
It didn't matter what phone you got. It just the only difference was the picture that it had the front
Yep.
of it. Like
Okay, I remember that.
both Nokia phones, very different. And yeah, the generic AT&T packaging for it was just horrible.
Yeah, I remember those.
So it was coming to, and I'm like, please don't let it be the AT&T box. I don't like the AT&T box. And then just it's nice when you boot up that phone and you don't have to see the carrier logo on it
Yeah.
when it boots up.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't mind carrier logos all that much, but okay. So we've got one last thing that I want to talk about before I let you go, because we're getting on towards an hour here. But before I do that, I have to do my patron shout outs
Yes.
because my patrons are awesome, and they're the only reason that I can afford to. No, that yeah. I mean, they're the reason that this show is actually almost kind of sort of paying for itself. So to get to our shout outs, we have Clifton M. Thomas, who for some reason is still a patron. We have Johan Bresky. We have Michael Kepper. We have Mike Hahn, BenderTube. Bender was on the show a couple months ago, and he is now a patron. So welcome, Mike Hahn, and you should all go check out Bender. BenderTube OG is his name on YouTube, and he also started up another channel, which is one that I'm kind of having fun with. It's Bender Builds, I believe it is. Let me just make sure I've got this right, because I don't want to like screw that up. But like every Sunday, Bender Lego, that's what he's doing.
That's right.
Every Sunday, he has a live stream of him building a Lego set, which is fun. So I like, and he chats with you while he's doing it, and you get to watch him build out. I mean, these are not inexpensive Lego sets. These are like, $100 Lego sets that he's building there. It's like, wow, I'm never going to buy that, but I can sure watch you do it. So, so welcome Mike Hahn and welcome Bender to the Patreon family. And we also have Neil Wilson, we have Scott Brady, and we have Zach Palmer, who is in our chat tonight. So welcome, or thank you to all of you for being awesome and for contributing to the awesomeness that is the benefit of the Dowd podcast. And speaking of people that have contributed to the awesomeness of the benefit of the Dowd podcast, got to raise one up for LG. So now we haven't heard anything official yet, but a lot of tech news sites over the past week and a half have been talking about how LG might be pulling out of the mobile industry completely, and that makes me sad. Because on this show, we've had a review of the LG V60, we've had a review of the LG Velvet, we've had a review of the LG Wing. Actually, I think probably LG is the most reviewed company on this podcast, except for possibly Lenovo. Lenovo might have a leg up. I don't know. I'll have to go back and count that. So so I mean, like, I get it, and I waxed poetic on this on the last episode for probably about, I don't know, it was like five or 10 minutes or something. It was actually a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, but like. It's really easy for someone like me to say, "Oh, LG, you can't do it. You're doing such really cool things," but at the same time, the LG mobile division hasn't made money in years, and it's not just because of certain things. Like I know I offered some slightly sardonic advice during my LG retrospective, but at the same time, like I love the dual screen phones. I think dual screen phones are awesome, and I think that more companies should do them. And I think LG should do them more. I love the LG Wing. Where's the LG Wing, Cliff? You still have it. You haven't sent it back to me.
It is on my dresser,
Okay. Well,
waiting
all right.
to be sent to you.
Okay. So I love the LG Wing. Cliff, I guess, not so much. But no, it's an acquired taste. It really is. But like I love what more than anything though, I have loved the brashness that LG has put forth over the last year and a half, 2 years with dual screens, with the Explorers program, with a rollable phone. Like LG is just like, we don't care what anybody thinks. We're just going to put out some awesome stuff and you guys are going to all love it. And then like suddenly they're like, that's going to cost how much? Oh, well, maybe not. So like now LG seems to be pulling back, possibly like the future of the rollable phone is in question. I saw Dave Ruddock, I believe, the other day posted that he had unconfirmed sources from both AT&T and Verizon that said that they were canceling all LG phone rollouts for this year.
Oh wow!
So yeah, so it's like it's starting to get a little bit real, and it makes me sad.
That makes me really sad too, because it's not like LG didn't try to differentiate themselves. If they had just been doing the proverbial bunt, producing phones that were generic, which I mean they do have those down on even in the lower end. Actually, they have a phone that's available with the stylus, which until Motorola started doing that recently, in the last year or so, that was kind of LG's little space there, until you went up into like the Note from Samsung, which was like 5 of the as far as the cost.
Right.
So LG really did some interesting stuff for a while there. They were differentiating themselves with the digital the DAC, and when every other company was going away from headphone jacks, they doubled down on it.
Yeah.
And they really
not only are we putting in the headphone jack, we're putting in the best headphone jack.
Right, exactly. And they've gone through a ton of, I can remember at least 2 or 3 management changes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like you're saying, they were willing to roll the dice on with the experimental stuff, like the LG Wing, like the rollable that I guess was going to come out. Yeah, so I feel like anytime you lose a player in a marketplace, it just, number one, takes some of the fire out of their competitors, in terms of trying to produce a diverse set of phones, and to also, like, as far as like pricing and stuff is concerned, that's one of my big fears, is that it's going to drive the price of phones up even more.
Possibly, yeah, because there will be one less. Well, I don't know. LG actually was kind of a premium phone competitor, though. So LG
but they always kind of slotted in that like a third less than their competitors for the most part, except for maybe the Wing.
Yeah,
they always seem to offer more value. At least, I mean, the G6, the Wing.
Yeah, but at the same time, their prices were always about $200 too much. Like for what they were offering compared to what other competitors were offering, that always felt to me like it was always about maybe $150, $200 too much. Like, especially the Velvet coming in at like $700, that was not right.
It felt fine to me until the other 765 devices were released, and then it was like, ooh.
Right? Yeah. So, and by the way, while you were talking about that, Ryan St. Andre is coming in on our group chat saying,
I saw it pop up.
So here's the quote. Damn, Adam, maybe you should have waited to buy that laptop. RTX 3080 and 3070 laptops just dropped from MSI. And I'm just like, I replied, my return period literally ended yesterday. So
I think you're good.
No, I think I'm fine. Yeah, I'm happy with this laptop. But anyway, so back to LG. Yeah, it's just LG was LG wasn't willing to. LG was putting forth the work in the innovation, but I think they were overvaluing the customer demand for that innovation. Like it
Sure.
probably legitimately costs that much to make a wing. It probably legitimately costs $1,000 to make a wing, you know. And but at the same
Especially with
time,
all the R&D that went into it.
especially with all of the R&D, but at a certain point you just have to recognize that this innovation is not going to sell as high as you think it is, and you can either sell 0 phones at $1,000 or you can sell a bunch of phones at, like, I don't know, $700 or something like that at a loss. I mean, it's like
Hmm.
you lose everything if you don't sell anything, but you only lose a little bit if you sell a lot at a loss. So that's basically Amazon's whole philosophy. Uh,
I mean, but
so
the thing in the end, I think it just goes down to the fact that it feels like we as human beings are more comfortable with binary systems. And what I mean by that is an Apple or
a Samsung,
or a Samsung, right?
yeah,
Democrats or Republicans,
yeah,
whatever you want to call it. It's just and I don't think that a lot of um, LG's lack of success in the North American market has to do with anything that they have done particularly wrong. It's
mm,
just that I think they probably lost the battle about 5 years ago because of mindshare. I
yeah,
mean, if you look at, and some of it's probably marketing, just in terms of things like the placement of Samsung and Apple devices in carrier stores. They're always the
yeah,
most prominent, and here it goes back to salespeople. Salespeople push what they know won't get returned,
yeah,
and the other thing, I mean, if I could really criticize LG for anything, I hate to beat them while they're down. But the one thing that they've always done, and I'm not even sure that most people care about this that are buying a phone, but it's software updates. I mean, the Velvet that we got in for reviews, I think the last time I fired it up was still on the August security update. And
yeah,
I'm not even talking so much about release level updates like the updating to Android 11 or whatnot. It's just making sure they're taking care of their customers on like a security level. To me, that's important, even if the average customer maybe doesn't see it. And
yeah.
that's where I was. And honestly, Motorola, they're not the only one. Motorola's very bad about it for the most part.
hmm
And
and by the way,
another manufacturer that I could see exiting the market in maybe other than like the G series or something. I mean, they're making another try with the Edge series, but
yeah, but
um,
Motorola is still being propped up by their mid-range sales, by their low
right,
budget and
exactly.
mid-range sales. So I mean, like, and I think that's a market that LG was starting to get cut out of there too. Like that was a
Hmm.
problem as well. So, and by the way, since we're talking about R&D, I just want to pour one out for my joke that OnePlus totally jumped on during my LG retrospective. I said, LG, or the reason OnePlus is where it is today is because Oppo does all of its R&D for them. But and then like
They're like, by the way,
it's seriously the day before that podcast came out, they're like, there's the news headlines read OnePlus and Oppo are consolidating their R&D, and we're like, okay, you're publicly acknowledging it at this point. But anyway, so I want to pour one out because that was a damn good joke, and OnePlus totally stepped on it a day before it came out.
I
So
do say jokes are all about timing.
yeah, they are. They are. Maybe I should move my podcast release date up till Saturday. So I can't do that though because then I would literally never sleep. Um, but anyway, so we've gone over an hour, so we should probably start to wrap things up a little bit. Did we cover everything? Like it just seems like we went through so
There's a
fast.
lot, like you were saying at the beginning of the podcast. There's a ton of stuff that happened in
There
January. So
is, there is. I just want to because I know I sent you kind of like a half-assed rundown. No, yeah, we covered everything. CES,
like I said,
Box, LG's departure, 5G, ThinkPad X1 Fold, and then Samsung Galaxy S21. That phone's coming tomorrow. I am so excited for it. Because by all reports it's an amazing phone. This weekend, for those who are listening live, obviously people who are listening to this on the feed will have already heard this, but I've got Hayato Huseman on to talk about the S21, like the whole series, because he just wrapped up his S21 Ultra review and he's starting on his S21 review period. So he was able to give us a little bit of insight on both phones. So that's going to be fun. That's coming out this coming weekend. And what are you pulling off of your shelf now?
And we were talking about the box of, or we were talking about the box of phones. I just thought, I can't even really, I'm afraid it'll all fall out, but this is an entire box full of phone boxes and phones.
Oh,
and
that's funny.
Let's see here. Got the original OG Sprint Pre.
Oh, wow.
Box,
okay.
Including like the little vellum sleeve that they came in.
You know what? Okay, so one thing that I will say about Cliff's boxes is I bought a Pixel Slate from Cliff. And after months and months and months, he finally sent it. No, I'm just kidding. It was like a month and a half, but still. So he finally sent it over to me. And this thing was put together almost exactly the way that Pixel shipped it to him originally, down to the plastic covering that goes over the tablet. Like, it wasn't actually adhered to the tablet anymore, but it was like in the box. I'm like, I could have totally unboxed this for the YouTube channel and nobody would have ever known. So like, kudos to you, man, because like I don't even have like all the stuff from the boxes of stuff that I have. So like, kudos to you for like, yeah. So kudos to you for keeping all that stuff intact. I mean, like, if you ever buy something from Cliff, you're getting the full unboxing experience, just so you know. But anyway, I think that's a pretty good place to go ahead and wrap things up. So Batman, thank you for joining us this evening. And for those of you who are listening, Cliff has his lower third as Batman.
I'm Batman.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. Okay, so Cliff, thank you for joining me again, and that is going to do it for this edition of the Doubting Thomas Monthly Recap. I would like to thank co-producer Cliff for all of his hard work behind the scenes. He's got an intro for a Tech Yeah segment coming up this weekend, which I think is going to be pretty baller. And we've got a new series of podcasts coming out next month called the Beyond a Dowd podcast, where I talk to some of my friends in the industry who are not me, which is why it's called Beyond a Dowd. There's Dowd, and then there's Beyond a Dowd. And our first guest on that podcast is going to be one of my oldest colleagues, not oldest like age-wise, but one of the first people I started working with, Jaime Rivera. Nice. So that's going to be coming up next month, and that'll be a good time. And then we'll hopefully have a monthly series of Beyond a Dowds, along with the monthly series of the Doubting Thomas Monthly Recaps, along with the weekly Benefit of a Dowd podcast. So now that I'm done pimping all my crap, let's go ahead and wrap things up and say thank you for watching and for giving us the benefit of the Dowd. And stop the recording. Yeah. I know we're still live. It's fine. Whoever is still online, if they want to see like how the sausage is made after we push the stop button, that's totally cool.
I was gonna say, you really are starting to have like the benefit of the doubt empire, aren't you?
Well, I mean, I'm no Marquez Brownlee, but I do have milliseconds of genius every now and then. So all right, so what episode is this going to be? So this is going to, I need to look at my calendar.
I'm just going to call it January.
Well, sure, that's fine. You can do that, but for like terms of organization, so this is going to come out. Yeah. So this is going to come out on the general feed. Probably, I served in the Army with a general feed. He was always hungry. Anyway, so this is going to come out in the general feed on the 10th, which means, oh, by the way, we had our 50th episode 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah, it was January 17th was number 50.
That's
all right,
awesome.
So this coming week is the 52nd, and then we're going to have the 53rd, because that's how numbers work. And then the 10th will be number 54. So let me go ahead and create that folder. Zero.
Are you, is it officially a year old yet?
Nope, not yet. Almost there. I first started recording the episodes in March of last year. And
so
then
it really started during COVID.
I started the episodes released after the lockdown started. So yeah, it was I think it was March 31st that I dropped the first 5 episodes. So, but like leading up to that, it was I was doing one per week just to kind of get in the habit of it. But then
Right.
I released all 5 at once because that's what podcasters say you should do. So
Yeah, you've definitely been on the staying up to date with that. That's for sure. I don't think you've missed. I think you've missed once, right?
I have not missed at all.
Okay.
I have not missed at all. Why did I put January? Why did I write January? Okay, so DT January.
Because I said it.
Yeah,
It's called a
maybe.
Freudian slip.
No, actually, so I think I'm not positive about this because I would kind of feel bad about it, but I think when my kids and my wife have spring break, I think I'm gonna take that week off too,
Hmm.
just to like not work because I worked like mostly through Christmas break and stuff like that, just because like the timing of episodes was kind of weird. So like I wanted to take the my birthday week off, but we ended up doing like 3 episodes that week. So
Yeah.
I'm a workaholic. So I think what I might do is I might declare like a benefit of the doubt holiday that week. And actually, I'm not going to do any freelance work that week either.
Just do what everyone else does and do a clip show.
A clip show. All right, so let me go in here. DT January 2021. Adam.
Right.
And we'll hit save. And actually, we're going to hit OK now. And you are not going to screw up.
The link.
Thank you, Audition. Okay. And then, yeah, cool. Audition didn't screw it up. I don't even need my backup. That's exciting.
Anyone with the link.
All right.
Corby the Lark. All right, I'm going to put this in.
We've still got a watcher. Is that UCT? Oh, there's your stuff. That's fun.
It's right there.
So it's either CT or it's Zach Palmer. Actually, CT, is that high?
Hello, whoever's remaining. Thanks for hanging out and
Yeah.
watching us make some sausage.
Hells yeah. That's fun. Yeah, I think it's Heim. Okay. So, cool beans. All right. So yeah, I can go ahead and stop the live stuff now. So bye whoever's watching. Thank you for coming on. And to anybody who watches this later when it appears on the YouTube feed, then sup. All right. And I'm gonna hit end broadcast. And yes, I'm sure I want to end the broadcast.